In this video, I'm going to share with you how you can find the very best property deals in your area. This is the number one most important skill that you need to develop if you want to be a successful property investor. So my name is Simon Zutshi. I've been investing in property since 1995, and since 2003, I've been helping people just like you learn how to become a successful investor. And that's when I started the Property Investors Network, which is the largest network of property investors all over the UK. And I'm the author of Property Magic, which became a number one Amazon bestseller when first released in 2008, and it's currently in its 6th edition. So I've helped lots of people just like you learn how to find really good deals in your area. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's great, Simon, but what actually makes a good property deal? And the reality is that what's a good deal for you might be different from what I think is a good deal, might be different from someone else. But there's some core fundamental aspects that make it a good property deal. So what I want to share with you in this video, what are those core aspects? Now you probably won't get all of these in every deal you find, and if you do find all of them, you should move really quickly because that's a great deal. By the way, successful people are decisive. When successful people see a really good deal, they know how to move quickly. And obviously that comes with confidence, it comes over time, but also specialist knowledge can give you that confidence. So when you spot a good deal, you need to move quickly. So you might want to take really good notes when watching this video. So the first element I always try and look for is I like to buy a property that gives me equity on the day that I buy. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say a property is worth 200,000 and you can buy it for maybe 170. That means you're getting 30,000 equity locked in there the day you buy. Now that's really good for a couple of reasons. First of all, a lot of people worry about, we've had a booming market in 2020, 2021. They wonder, what's going to happen to the property market in 2022? Is the market going to crash? Is it going to keep going up? The reality is nobody knows what's going to happen. So rather than wait to see what's going to happen and maybe miss out, I believe if you find really good deals right now, which if you watch this video, it's going to help you to do that, then actually it doesn't matter what happens long term. But let's say you buy something and the value does come down. If you've been able to buy at a discount with some equity locked in, that gives you a bit of a natural safety buffer. And if the market continues to grow, which most people expect, then actually it means you can refinance that property quicker to get some or all of your deposit out. And that's a really good thing because it means you're not leaving much money in the property. So the first thing we always try and look for is buying below market value at what we call a wholesale price. So think about buying property at a wholesale price instead of the normal retail, which is what most investors would pay. Now, having said that, sometimes we might buy a property at the full asking price. And sometimes people make a mistake. They see the asking price, they might be listed for 170 and they think, I've got to buy at a discount, I've got to take some money off. And actually the price it's listed at might already be a really good price. So it comes down to knowing your local area, and when you see a good deal, you can move quickly. And sometimes we might pay full market price, we might not get a discount if we think we can add value to that property. So being able to buy with equity on day one is a great start. More important than that is we only want to buy an investment property where there's strong rental demand. What that means is that if the current tenants move out of the property, we can quickly and easily find some new tenants to move into the property paying a fair market rent. So how do we work that out? Well, we can go online, we can check what's the demand in an area, we can speak to local letting agents to find out what's the best thing to be buying at the moment. And really, we want to make sure that we're buying in an area where there is an increasing population. As the population goes up, there's an upward pressure on the demand for accommodation to rent and also property to buy. So if you buy in an area with an increasing population, there's going to be a good, strong rental demand. Now, the next criteria we look for is that we only ever buy an investment property that gives us cash flow. What do we mean by that? Well, the rent that we take in each month after we've paid for the mortgage, the insurance, the management, any other maintenance and fees and things like that, there must be some profit left over every single month. If there isn't any profit, it's not a good deal. Now you might say, yeah, but Simon, what about the long-term capital growth? And yes, we expect property prices over the long term to go up. They don't always go up, remember. They go up, they come down because the property market, just like every other market, is cyclical. But the long-term trend in the UK is up because we have this small island with a limited amount of accommodation and an increasing population. So yes, we believe that long-term property prices will go up. However, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. And so I teach my students that if we're investing in property, it must make us money right now. So we know it's in an area of strong rental demand. We've got to make sure it's giving us positive cash flow. And that's difficult with prices being high. You might look at a property that are just too expensive. In that case, don't buy them. You want to hunt around and find the properties at the right price where it does stack up to give you positive cash flow. It's really, really important. Now, the next thing I look for when looking for a good deal is I like to be able to add value to a property. You know, in the past, over my 26 years of investing, I bought some investments which at the time seemed like a very good deal based on the knowledge that I had at that time. But given what I know now and the power of hindsight, I probably wouldn't buy those properties if I had a second chance. And some of those properties were new off-plan property. Now, off-plan can seem very attractive. The idea being that you buy in advance before it's built, you fix the price, and hopefully the market goes up over time. And in a rising market, that can work. And in a way, you're buying a little bit of a discount by buying at today's price, given that tomorrow's value might be higher. But the problem is, when you buy brand new developments, you are generally paying a premium price. You're paying more for that than if you were buying an older property. And the problem is, it's a bit like when you buy a brand new car, the moment you drive it off the garage forecourt, the value of that car comes down. In the same way, a property value might not come down, but because it's been at a premium, it's going to take a while for that value to go up. And as soon as you've had one set of tenants living in the property for more than 6 months, well, that's no longer really a new property. It's going to have some wear and tear. So personally, my recommendation is do not buy brand new property. It might look nice and shiny, it might be easy to rent at first, but I believe generally you're going to be paying a premium. And given that we want to get some equity locked in on day one, which was the first point I made, it's very difficult to do that. Whereas if you buy older properties that need some work doing to them, it's a bit more hassle. I agree with that, but you know what? You can add value. And that's one of the great things about investing in property. You know, if you invest in stocks and shares or cryptocurrency, there's nothing you can do to affect the value. Unless you're someone like Elon Musk, obviously, who bought several $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and suddenly Bitcoin prices wake up. But I'm sure, apart from Elon, who I know is watching this video, that's probably not going to apply to most people. So in property, you can absolutely buy an asset which you can add value to through refurbishment, and you can force the appreciation. You can cause the value to go up by the actions you are taking. And on a very basic level, you might look for a property that's been inherited and it needs a new kitchen, new bathroom, new carpets, bit of paint, and suddenly it's an amazing property. Or maybe you do some more significant work on the property to enhance the value even more, such as doing an extension, going up into the attic, going to the basement, whatever it might be. But we're really looking for a property where we can personally add value to that property to force the appreciation. If you're buying a new property, the developer's already done that, and it's going to be very difficult for you to do. Now that leads me to the next point. I like investments where there's a very low initial investment, or if I do have to put money in, I can quickly recycle that money and take it out, so there's only a small amount of money left in the deal. That's a strategy called momentum investing, where either we buy at a discount and or we add value to the property, such that within 6 months or 9 months, we can refinance and take most of the money out, which means we can then go and buy another property. That's how many of my mastermind students very quickly build up a cash generating portfolio, sometimes recycling their deposit many, many times. So we look for those kind of investments, and obviously they're a pretty good deal. And then finally, And this is very important. We talked about cash flow already, but cash flow is not the only thing we need to consider. We also need to think about return on investment. So that's based on how much annual profit do we make? So not the rental income, but the profit we make each year after paying the mortgage, the insurance, the management fees, etc. How much money do we make each year divided by the initial investment to acquire that property in the first place. So that should be your deposit, it should be your stamp duty, your legal costs, anything that you've had to pay to get that property in the first place. And then that number we take and we multiply by 100 to give us percentage. Now, the higher the return on investment, the better the deal. Typically, a normal single-let property around the UK might give a 5 to 7% return on investment. In London, it might only be 2 or 3%. If you do strategies such as HMOs, houses of multiple occupation, where you're renting out individual rooms to different people, your return on investment should be 15 to 20%. If you're doing a strategy such as a purchase lease option, where you control a property but don't actually buy it, you have the right to buy it in the future, and in the meantime you pay a fee to the landlord and then you get to use the asset, well, we might look for a 50% return on investment, which means we get our money back in 2 years, because that's what a return on investment is. It helps us compare this investment with this one and see how quickly do we get our money back. And if we're using rent to rent, well, we don't actually own the property at all. We just rent it from a landlord. We rent it out in a different way to get a higher cash flow. Then we're looking for 100% return on investment, where any money we put in, we get it back within the first year. So understanding return on investment is something that most property investors don't really understand, but it's important that you do, because it's how we compare one deal with another. So just to summarize these factors, we want to buy property ideally with equity on day one. We want to buy in an area with strong rental demand. We're always buying for positive cash flow. We ideally want to buy a property where we can add value. We like property where there's a low initial investment or we can recycle our money very quickly. And finally, we want a high return on investment. Now, like I said earlier, it's unlikely you're going to see all of these criteria in any one deal. But if you do, wow, you need to move really quickly, because that's a great deal. And if you don't move quickly when you find a good deal, someone else will come and snatch it from you. So by educating yourself and learning what makes a great deal for you, it will give you more confidence. So when you find a good deal, you will be able to move quickly. When I first started investing back in 1995, I didn't know any of this. In fact, my first few years, I was learning very much by trial and terror. But I do hope that this has been a good eye-opener for you, so you can actually work out what makes a good deal. And obviously, your criteria is going to be different for someone else. So make sure you understand what works for you. Now, if you get good at finding deals in your area, you might get to the point where you're finding more deals than you can personally do, and you can then sell those properties onto other people. And I'm going to talk about that in a future video. Now, I hope this training has been valuable for you. And if you've got any questions, please do post them in the comments below, and I will come and answer as many of those as I can. And also, I'm going to be producing another 2 videos. The next video is going to be all about how you can save thousands of pounds off every single purchase moving forward. Now, this is something that I didn't know for the first 11 years of my investing. It's a kind of a big secret that I only really learned in 2006. And when I learned this secret in 2006, I immediately applied it, and I pretty much doubled my property portfolio and got an extra £50,000 of income in just 6 months because of this secret that I'm going to share with you in the next video. So in the meantime, if you've got any questions, post them below. If you want to share this video with family and friends, please click on the social media links. And I look forward to seeing you in the next training video. It's going to come out in a couple of days. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I do hope you got massive value from watching this YouTube video. I'd encourage you to click on the link below to come and do the online training with me. And I've got another video lined up for you, which I think is also going to be really useful, that you should watch once you've registered for the online training with me. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you very soon.